The ham was perfect. Golden brown, studded with cloves, sitting in the center of Mom's dining table like it did every Easter. Around it, scalloped potatoes, green bean casserole, dinner rolls that Mom had been making since we were kids. 23 people crammed into a house meant for maybe 15. Aunts, uncles, cousins, my parents, my sister Rachel and her husband Derek. I'd brought wine. 3 bottles of a decent Pinot Noir because I'd learned years ago that showing up empty-handed meant hearing about it for months. I set them on the kitchen counter next to Rachel's store-bought cookies still in their plastic container. "Oh, you made it," Mom said, not looking up from the gravy she was stirring. Not "I'm glad you're here" or "Happy Easter." Just acknowledgement of my presence, the way you'd note that the mail had arrived. "Wouldn't miss it," I said quietly. Rachel was already at the table, holding court with our cousins. She'd recently gone blonde expensive highlights that caught the light from Mom's chandelier. Her nails were freshly done, that trendy almond shape in pale pink. She looked good. She always looked good. I took my usual seat near the end of the table, between Aunt Linda and my cousin's husband, whose name I could never remember. The seat that became mine sometime after Rachel got married, after she became the daughter with the stories everyone wanted to hear. Dad said grace. We passed plates. I took small portions of everything because I'd learned that taking too much meant Mom would make a comment about waste. Taking too little meant she'd ask if I thought her cooking wasn't good enough. "So, Rachel," Aunt Carol said, leaning forward with that eager look people get when they're about to hear gossip, "how's the new place? Your mom showed me pictures. That kitchen is gorgeous." Rachel's face lit up. "Oh my God, it's perfect. 2 bedrooms, walk-in closets, a balcony that overlooks the park. Derek and I just love it." "Must be expensive," Uncle Jim said. "That area's gotten pricey." "It is," Rachel agreed, "but we're making it work. Derek got that promotion, and we're just really careful with our budget." I took a bite of ham cheved slowly. "Save. Nothing. Unlike some people," Rachel continued, and I felt her eyes on me even though I wasn't looking up. "We don't believe in constantly asking family for handouts." The table got quieter. Not silent, there were too many people for that, but the volume dropped enough that I knew others had heard. "Rachel," Mom said, but it wasn't a reprimand. It was more like she was trying to prevent an awkward moment while secretly agreeing with the sentiment. "I'm just saying," Rachel continued, gaining confidence from Mom's non-intervention, "some people need to learn to stand on their own 2 feet, not always running to family every time they have a problem." I set down my fork carefully, took a sip of water. My hands didn't shake because I'd been practicing this staying calm when people said things designed to hurt. "Are you talking about me?" I asked, my voice level. "If the shoe fits," Rachel said, and a few people around the table actually laughed. Small laughs, uncomfortable ones, but laughs, nonetheless. "What help have I asked for?" I kept my tone curious, not defensive. "Please." "Please." Rachel rolled her eyes. "Last month you called Mom asking about her contractor. The month before, you wanted Dad's advice on car insurance. You're always asking for something." "I asked for a phone number," I said, "and information about insurance rates. I didn't ask for money." "It's the principle," Rachel said, warming to her topic now. "You're 32 years old. Figure things out yourself. The rest of us manage just fine without constantly bothering everyone." Derek nodded along beside her. Al was deed. In 4 years of marriage, I'd never heard him contradict her once. "You know what?" Rachel continued. "Apparently not done. I'm just going to say it. It's embarrassing. My friends ask about my family, and I have to explain that my sister Kui and to seem to handle basic adult responsibilities without calling Mom and Dad every 5 minutes. Mom made a small sound that might have been agreement. Dad was focused very intently on his dinner roll, always begging for help, Rachel said, looking around the table for support. "It's exhausting for everyone." Aunt Linda shifted uncomfortably next to me. Across the table, my cousin Melissa was staring at her plate, clearly wishing she was anywhere else. I pulled my phone from my pocket, unlocked it with a steady hand. Open my banking app. You're on your phone at Easter dinner? Mom said. Really? Just checking something, Premiered aside calmly. I navigated to my automatic payments, found the one I needed. $1,200 monthly rent, I read aloud. 28 months. Rachel's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. That's $33,600. I continued, my voice still quiet. Still steady, paid directly to your landlord. Every month. On the first, since you lost your job 2 years ago. The table went completely silent now. Even the kids at the card table in the corner seemed to sense something was happening. What are you talking about? Rachel said, but her voice had changed. Higher. Uncertain. Your rent, I said simply. The rent you told Derek came from your side hustle. The rent you told Mom and Dad you were covering with Derek's promotion. I've been paying it every month for 28 months. I turned the phone so she could see the screen, the payment schedule, the confirmation numbers, her address listed as the payment destination. That's not Rachel started. The landlord's name is Richard Chun, I said. He sends me a thank you text every month. Usually says something like, payment received, thanks. Sometimes just a thumbs up emoji. Derek was looking at Rachel now. His expression was hard to read confusion, mostly with something else underneath. Something that looked like the beginning of anger. You asked me to help temporarily, I continued. When you got laid off, you said it would be 2, maybe 3 months while you looked for a new job. You said Derek couldn't know because he was stressed about his own work, and you didn't want to add to it. You said you'd pay me back. I was going to, Rachel said weakly. It's been 28 months, I repeated. That's not temporary. That's not help. That me paying for your apartment while you told everyone, including your husband, that you had everything under control. Why would you even do that? Mama said, and the question was directed at me, not Rachel. Why would you let her get dependent on you? I almost laughed. Almost? Because she's my sister, I said. Because she called me crying. Because she said she was desperate. Because I thought family helped family. But you should have said no, Dad said. You should have told her to figure it out herself. That's how people learn. Like you taught me? I asked, and there was an edge in my voice now. When I needed help with college applications, and you said I should figure it out myself? When my car broke down, and you said taking the bus would build character. That kind of teaching? That's different, Mom said. How? No answer. I looked back at Rachel. You just told everyone I'm always begging for help. You called me embarrassing. You said I can't handle basic adult responsibilities? I didn't mean yes. You did, I said quietly. You meant every word, and you meant it while sitting in an apartment that I pay for. I pulled up the payment settings, clicked on the automatic payment. My thumb hovered over cancel recurring payment. What are you doing? Rachel's voice went high. Panicky. Setting boundaries, I said. Like you suggested, handling my adult responsibilities. Like figuring out that I need to keep paying rent for someone who thinks I am a burden on the family. You can't. I can, I said. I clicked the button. Payment canceled. You'll need to make other arrangements for May 1st. That's Tuesday. 7 days. Rachel's phone started buzzing on the table. We all saw the name on the screen. Richard Chun Landlord. She didn't pick it up. Just stared at it like it was a snake. Better answer that, I said. He probably got the notification that the payment method was removed from his autopay system. The phone kept buzzing. Rachel looked at Derek. Derek looked at her with an expression I'd never seen him wear, before realization spreading across his face like spilled wine. You said your side hustle covered rents, Derek said slowly. You said your Etsy store was making $1,200 a month. Rachel's face had gone pale under her expensive highlights. How much does your Etsy store actually make? Derek asked. Silence. Rachel. About $200 a month, she whispered. Sometimes $300. And the rest. Rachel looked at me, then back at Derek. She was helping. For 28 months, I was going to tell you when. Derek's voice was getting louder now, attracting attention from the kids' table. After 3 years. 5. When were you going to mention that your sister has been paying our rent for 2 fucking years? Derek? Language, Mom said reflexively. No, Derek said, standing up so fast his chair screeched against the floor. No, I'm not going to watch my language. My wife has been lying to me for 2 years. Her sister has been paying our rent for 2 years. And apparently everyone in this family thinks the person who has been secretly supporting us is the problem. He looked around the table. Are you all insane? Derek, calm down, Dad said. I'm perfectly calm, Derek said, though he wasn't. I'm just trying to understand how this works. Rachel calls her sister embarrassing. In front of everyone. While that same sister is paying our rent, and you all just ... went along with it. Aunt Linda spoke up for the first time. I didn't know about the rent. Well, now you do, Derek said. He looked at me. $33,000. $33,600, I said quietly. But who's counting? Jesus Christ, Derek muttered. He looked at Rachel. Get your purse. We're leaving. But Easter, Mom started. Is over, Derek said. For us, anyway. He walked out. Rachel sat frozen for a moment, then grabbed her bag and hurried after him. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle Mom's decorative plates on the wall. The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable. 20 people suddenly very interested in their food. Well, Mom said finally. That was unnecessary drama. I looked at her. Which part? You didn't have to embarrass her in front of everyone. She called me embarrassing, I said, in front of everyone, while I was paying her rent. You could have talked to her privately. I tried, multiple times. She kept saying she'd pay me back soon. That was 28 months ago. Still, Dad said, families should support each other, not air their problems publicly. I set down my napkin, stood up slowly. You're right, I said. Family should support each other. That's what I thought I was doing. I looked around the table, at aunts and uncles and cousins who'd laughed when Rachel called me out. At parents who were more concerned about embarrassment than truth. I've been paying Rachel's rent for 28 months, I said clearly. I've been covering Mommy's phone bill for 3 years because she mentioned once that it was expensive, and I set up an automatic payment. I paid for Dad's fishing trip last summer, the one he told everyone he'd saved up for. I sent Aunt Carol money when Uncle Jim was out of work. $2,000 that was supposed to be a loan, but that I never expected to see again. Aunt Carol's face flushed red. I helped Melissa with her security deposit, I continued. I bought the laptop that Connor uses for school. I paid for Grandma's medication copays for 6 months before she passed. The table was dead silent now. So when exactly was I begging for help? I asked. When I asked for a phone number, when I wanted advice about insurance, those are the crimes that make me an embarrassment. No one answered. I asked Mom for a contractor's number because I just bought a house. I said, a 3-bedroom house with a backyard. I didn't mention it because every time I have good news, someone finds a way to diminish it. Rachel bought a new purse, and it was a conversation topic for 3 dinners. I bought a house and I didn't say anything because I knew the response would be either criticism about the price or questions about how I could afford it. You bought a house, Mom said. When? February. I closed on February 12th. I've been living there for 6 weeks. I didn't tell anyone. Why not? Dad asked, and he actually sounded hurt. Because I've learned. Primera Sahid simply, I've learned that sharing good news means either being ignored or being torn down. I've learned that asking for help, even just information, means being called a burden. I've learned that giving help means being taken advantage of. I've learned that in this family, I'm supposed to stay quiet, stay small, and keep writing checks. I picked up my purse. I'm done learning those lessons. Where are you going? Mom asked. Home. To my house. The one I bought by myself? The one I'll pay for by myself because, apparently, that's the only way to handle adult responsibilities without embarrassing everyone. You're leaving. On Easter? Rachel left. I pointed out. That was different. She was upset. So am I said. I'm just quiet about it. I walked to the door. Behind me, I heard Dad say, "Let her go." She calmed down and apologized. I stopped. Turned back. I won't, I said clearly. I won't calm down and apologize. I won't pretend this didn't happen. I won't keep quietly paying for things while being told I'm the problem. I'm done. Aunt Linda stood up. Honey, wait. I waited. I didn't know, she said, about any of it, about Rachel's rent, or your mom's phone, or any of it. I know. And for what it's worth, she continued, I think what you did helping everyone that was Kindakwa's family, and what Rachel said to you was cruel. Thank you, I said quietly. But you're still leaving. I am. I drove home to my empty house, sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes before going inside. The house was quiet. I'd bought furniture but hadn't decorated much yet. It still felt temporary, like I was waiting for permission to really settle in. My phone started buzzing around 7 p.m., text messages coming in rapid succession. Mom, you really hurt Rachel's feelings. She's your sister. Dad, family doesn't give up on family. Think about what you're doing. Rachel, I can't believe you'd do this to me. On Easter? What kind of person are you? And then, unexpectedly, from Derek. Can we talk? I called him. Hey, he said. He sounded tired. Hey! I didn't know, he said. About any of it? The rent? The lying. I swear to God, I thought her Etsy store was doing well. I thought we were managing fine on my salary plus her side. Income? I know. She's been lying to me for 2 years. I know. Why didn't you tell me? I was quiet for a moment. Because she asked me not to. Because she said it would hurt your marriage, because I'm an idiot who thought I was helping. You were helping, Derek said, but you were helping her lie to me. And I don't know if I can forgive that. I understand. Do you have records? He asked. Of the payments? All of them. Yes. Every transaction. Why? Because I think we're going to need them. For the lawyer. My stomach dropped. Lawyer, I'm not staying in a marriage built on lies, Derek said. I've spent the last 2 years thinking we were partners. Equal, building something together. And the whole time, she was letting your sister pay our rent while telling me everything was fine, while telling everyone you were the problem. Derek, she called you embarrassing, he said, and his voice cracked, while you were paying our rent. While you were helping her keep her secrets, and everyone just went along with it. They didn't know. Some of them did, he said. I saw your mom's face. She knew something. Maybe not everything, but something. And she still let Rachel say those things to you. I didn't argue because he was probably right. I'm sorry, Derek said. For what it's worth, I'm sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I didn't defend you. I'm sorry it took me this long to realize what kind of family you've been dealing with. Thank you, I whispered. Can you send me those records? The payment history. I will. And hey, he said, congratulations on the house. I actually laughed. A short, surprised sound. Thanks. For what it's worth, I think leaving was the right call. I think maybe you've been the only sane person in that family for a long time. After we hung up, I pulled up my banking app again, started going through my automatic payments, really looking at them for the first time in months. Mom's phone bill, $87 monthly, for 34 months. $2,958 total. Rachel's rent, $1,200 monthly for 28 months. $33,600 total. Aunt Carol's temporary help, $2,000, never repaid. Melissa's security deposit, $1,500, never repaid. Connor's laptop, $1,200. Grandma's medications, $185 monthly for 6 months. $1,110 total. Dad's fishing trip, $3,400. Various birthday gifts, Christmas presents, emergency car repairs, groceries when someone was short this month, dinner bills that I always somehow ended up paying. I opened a spreadsheet, spent 3 hours documenting everything. Every payment, every date, every amount. When I was done, the total stared back at me from the bottom of the screen. $52,847. $52,847. In 3 years. In 3 years. 2 family members who called me an embarrassment. I sat back in my chair, looked around my empty living room, and started to laugh. Not funny laughter. The kind that comes when something is so absurd you don't know what else to do. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Richard Chun, Rachel's landlord. I got a notification that the auto payment was canceled. Is everything okay? Should I expect May rent from a different source? I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Hi Mr. Chun. The automatic payment was canceled intentionally. You'll need to collect May rent directly from Rachel Davis. She can be reached at the number on her lease application. Best of luck." He replied immediately. Understood. Thank you for the heads up. And thanks for being such a reliable tenant advocate for your sister. That was very kind of you. You're welcome, I typed back, then added, but I'm done advocating now. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let people handle their own responsibilities. Good luck to you. I set down my phone, went to the kitchen, made myself dinner in my quiet house with my paid-off furniture and my mortgage that I could afford on my own. At 9 p.m., my phone rang. Mom. I almost didn't answer, but old habits die hard. Hello. You need to fix this, Mom said. No greeting, no how are you. Just the demand. Fix what? Rachel is hysterical. Derek is talking about divorce. You've ruined Easter. You've destroyed her marriage. You need to call her and apologize and set up the rent payment again. I was quiet for so long that Mom said, Are you there? I'm here. I'm just trying to figure out if you're serious. Of course I'm serious. She's your sister. Family helps family. I've been helping for 28 months, I said. I think I've done my part. You can't just stop. She needs you. She called me embarrassing, I said, in front of the entire family. She said I was always begging for help, while I was literally paying her rent. And you want me to apologize? She was having a bad day. You know how she gets. How she gets? I repeated. She gets cruel. She gets comfortable taking $33,000 from me, while calling me a burden. You're being dramatic. Am I? Mom, I showed you the receipts. I showed everyone. $52,000 to this family in 3 years. And the response is that I'm dramatic and I need to apologize. Well, what did you expect? Mom snapped. A medal? You don't help family and then throw it in their faces? I didn't throw anything, I said. Rachel threw me under the bus. I just showed the tire tracks. This is exactly why no one wants to be around you, Mom said, and her voice had that sharp edge it got when she was really angry. You're always keeping score. Always counting every little thing. That's not what family does. You're right, I said. Family doesn't keep score. Family shouldn't have to. Family should just love each other, support each other, not call each other embarrassing while literally living off their money. So you're punishing her. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. Boundaries. Mom scoffed. That's just a fancy word for being selfish. Then I'm selfish, I said. I'm selfish enough to stop paying for people who don't appreciate it. I'm selfish enough to stop attending dinners where I'm used as a verbal punching bag. I'm selfish enough to keep my money and my dignity. If you don't help her, she'll lose her apartment. Then she'll lose her apartment, I said, and saying it out loud felt like standing up after sitting too long, painful but necessary. That's not my responsibility. It never was. It was Derek's. He's her husband. He should have known where their rent money was coming from. She was protecting him. She was lying to him. For 2 years, and I helped her do it because she is my sister and I am an idiot who thought family meant something. It does mean something. That's why you need to help. No, I said quietly. That's why I'm done. I hung up, turned off my phone, sat in my quiet house with the lights off, and felt the weight of 3 years slowly lifting off my shoulders. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and 83 text messages. I made coffee before looking at any of them. Most were from family members I barely talked to, suddenly very invested in my relationship with Rachel. Cousins who hadn't called in years were now sending long messages about the importance of family unity. Aunts were forwarding me Bible verses about forgiveness. There was one message from Derek, sent at 2 a.m. She's been crying all night. Not about the apartment. About you. About losing you. I think that's the real thing she can't afford to lose. And one from Aunt Linda. I've been thinking about what you said. About helping everyone. I looked at my bank records. You sent me $2,000 3 years ago when Jim lost his job. I never paid you back. I didn't even thank you properly. I'm sorry. I'll send you a check. And I'm sorry I didn't speak up more at dinner. I sat with my coffee and thought about responding. Decided not to. Not yet. Maybe not ever. My doorbell rang at 10 a.m. I checked the security camera ID just installed last week, another adult responsibility. ID handled on my own. Rachel stood on my porch, her face puffy from crying, still wearing what looked like yesterday's clothes. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Can we talk? She asked. Sure. She waited for me to step aside. I didn't hear. Here's fine. She looked around at my porch, my front yard, the visible slice of my living room behind me. You really bought a house. I did. It's nice. Thank you. Why didn't you tell us? Because you weren't interested in my life unless it affected yours. She flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? When was the last time you asked me how I was doing? Not because you needed something. Not because Mom told you to call. Just because you wanted to know? Rachel was quiet. That's what I thought. I said. I came to apologize. She said. What I said at Easter was wrong. I shouldn't have called you embarrassing. I shouldn't have said you were always begging for help. You're right. You shouldn't have. So? We're okay. I almost laughed. No. We're not okay. But I apologized. Rachel, you took $33,000 from me. You lied to your husband for 2 years. You let me help you while telling everyone I was the problem. And you think one apology fixes that. I didn't realize. That's the problem. I interrupted. You didn't realize. You didn't think about it. You took and took and took, and you never once stopped to think about what you were taking from. You never asked if I could afford it. You never asked if I wanted to keep doing it. You just assumed I would. You never said you wanted to stop. I shouldn't have had to, I said. 28 months, Rachel. You said temporary. You said you'd pay me back. And instead, you called me embarrassing. I was having a bad day. So you took it out on the person who's been keeping you afloat? That's your defense. She looked at the ground. Derek's leaving me. I know. He says I'm a liar. He says he can't trust me. He's talking to a divorce lawyer. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. I didn't want her marriage to end. I just wanted her to take responsibility for why it was ending. Can you talk to him? Tell him it was just a misunderstanding. Tell him we've worked it out. Have we? Haven't we? I looked at my sister, the woman who'd been my best friend when we were kids, who'd turned into a stranger somewhere along the way. No, I said, we haven't. Because you still don't understand what you did wrong. You think this is about the money. It's not about the money. Then, what's it about? Respect, I said. You didn't respect me enough to be honest. You didn't respect Derek enough to tell him the truth. You didn't respect yourself enough to handle your own problems. You just took the easy way and let everyone else pay the price. I didn't know what else to do. You could have talked to Derek. You could have been honest with me about your plans to pay me back. You could have gotten a different job, downsized your apartment, cut back on the expensive highlights and the manicures and the lifestyle you couldn't afford. You had options. You just didn't like any of them. Rachel's face crumpled. So you're just cutting me off. After everything. After everything. Primera repea, Teth. Rachel, there is no everything. There's just me giving, and you taking. That's not a relationship. That's not family. That's just, habit. So that's it. We're done. I don't know. I said honestly. Maybe. Maybe not. But I know I'm done being your ATM. I am done being the family member everyone calls when they need something but no one calls when they do you, and I'm done being small so everyone else can feel big. I never asked you to be small. You didn't have to ask. You just assumed I would be. And I was. For years, I was so small, I almost disappeared. But I bought a house, Rachel. I have a career and savings, and a life that I built while everyone was too busy looking at you to notice me. And I'm done apologizing for that. Rachel wiped her eyes. I really am sorry. I believe you, I said, but sorry doesn't pay back $33,000. Sorry doesn't undo 2 years of lies. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you thought so little of me that you believed I'd just keep taking your verbal abuse while financing your life. What do you want from me? Nothing, I said, and felt the freedom of that word. I don't want anything from you. I don't need anything from you. That's the whole point. I stepped back, started to close the door. Wait, Rachel said. Are you coming to Sunday dinner? Next week. No. Mom's birthday? No. Thanksgiving? No. Rachel, I'm not coming to any of them. I am not spending my time with people who see me as an embarrassment 1 minute and an ATM the next. I'm going to spend my time with people who actually care about me. Once I find some. I closed the door gently, locked it, walked back to my kitchen where my coffee was still warm, and my house was still quiet, and my bank account was finally going to stay mine. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Hi. This is Marina from the birthday dinner 3 years ago. The stranger who helped you with the candles? I heard through a friend what happened at Easter. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you. And if you ever want to grab coffee, I'd love to hear how you've been. No obligations. Just an offer from someone who saw your kindness that night and wanted to return it. Please, I still think about that chocolate cake. I stared at the message, read it 3 times. Then typed back. Coffee sounds perfect. House Thursday. 3 dots appeared immediately. Thursday's great. I know a place that makes chocolate cake almost as good as that birthday one. Almost. I smiled. Set down my phone, looked around my empty, quiet, peaceful house that I'd bought with my own money, that I'd furnished with my own choices, that I'd finally learned to call home. My phone buzzed 1 more time. Aunt Linda, check your email. I sent that payment, and I asked Jim about the money he owes you. He's putting together a payment plan. It's not much, but it's something. You deserved better from all of us. I'm sorry it took this long to see it. I opened my laptop. Saw the payment notification. $2,000. Exactly what I'd sent 3 years ago. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness. Exactly. Not reconciliation, just ... acknowledgement. Someone had seen me. Someone had listened. Someone had tried to make it right. It wasn't everything. It wasn't even close to everything. But it was something. I made myself breakfast in my quiet kitchen. It slowly. Planned my week work meetings, the house inspection I'd scheduled for the roof, coffee with Marina on Thursday, and nowhere in those plans was space for family dinners where I stayed small. For phone calls demanding I fix problems I didn't create. For automatic payments to people who saw me as a convenience, not a person. I was done being convenient. Done being small. Done being the person everyone could take from because I never pushed back. Rachel's landlord would call her about the rent. Derek's lawyer would serve her papers. Mom would keep calling, probably for months, trying to guilt me into returning to how things were. And I would stay here, in my house, building my life. Finally, blessedly, taking up the space I'd always deserved. The space I'd bought, $1 at a time. Until I finally learned the most expensive lesson of all. The people who love you do want to make you pay for it. And the people who make you pay for it don't actually love you. They just love what you give them. And I was finally done giving.